Hi, this is Miss Elaine. I'm very excited to be here today celebrating the summer solstice and Earth Day, and I have some things to share with you. You're probably wondering where I am today. I am down near the Bronx River in a very, very beautiful spot, very tranquil spot of the Bronx River. And I spent many, many times here as a child enjoying the beauty of this spot. So I'm going to share with you some stories about the earth and how we can honor the earth. But first I wanted to talk about what is a summer solstice. So I have a book about the earth, and I'm just going to show you what the earth does. So the earth is always moving. It's a planet on the move. It takes 365.25 days to orbit the sun. That is 1 year. The earth is also spinning as it moves along that path. It takes Earth 24 hours to make one spin, and that is 1 day. Different parts of the planet face the sun as Earth spins. It becomes day there. It becomes night when those parts of the earth turn away from the sun. Now, why do we have seasons? The earth's tilt creates seasons. The seasons are opposite in areas above and below the equator. The earth is not perfectly centered in space. It is tilted. So the top and bottom of the earth lean toward or away from the sun at different times of the year. That is why earth has seasons. Places near the earth's equator or middle are always tilted close to the sun. Those places do not have seasons. They stay warm all year. So we just celebrated the summer solstice in June. That's the longest day of the year. Did you notice now that some of you may be going to bed when it's still dark, when it's still light out, right? You used to go to bed and it was just dark, but now because the days are longer, we have more sun during the day. And since that day, on June 22nd, the days have started to get shorter. It's hard to notice, but they'll get shorter and shorter and shorter until we do the same thing with the winter solstice in December. But today we're going to talk about Earth Day. And I brought some stories with me that we're not going to read, but I want you to know that we have them at the library and you can place them on hold. We do have curbside pickup right now that you can put a book on hold and you can come and pick it up. This is a beautiful book, The Earth Book by Jonathan Litton, illustrated by Thomas Hedgebrook. And this talks about everything from how the earth was formed, to all the plants and trees, the earth's regions. It talks about the dinosaurs. It talks about the poles. So if you want a book that is chock full of information, then you will want to come and get this book called The Earth Book. Okay? And I also have some stories about topics involving our earth, like recycling or solar energy. You might want to come and take these out as well. And you could just check in with us at the library. You can email me, or you can call the library and we can answer any questions you have about some of these stories. But the ones I'm going to read today, the first one I'm going to read is about Earth Day by Joanna Ponto. The planet known as Earth is our home. It is the only planet that has people living on it. It is also the only planet with animals, trees, and flowers, and that makes it a special place. So some of the problems that we have here on Earth is that factories and cars release dangerous fumes, smoke, or gases into the air. And in some cities, the air is not safe for people to breathe. Garbage is being dumped into the water. This kills fish and other living things. It also makes many places unsafe for swimming. Now, when I was a child, there was a factory a little here down the stream a little bit, and that actually polluted some of the water. So now the river is cleaner than it was when I was a child because people made changes. So some people have tried to change that. There's a special day to honor and protect our planet. It is known as Earth Day, and it is held every year on April 22nd. It is a day to think about the environment. There are meetings, fairs, and rallies, and people plan to make things better. They clean up lakes and rivers, trees and gardens are planted, and many people of all ages take part. That is because Earth belongs to all of us. We are all responsible for it. Earth Day is a pretty new holiday. We did not always need a special day for Earth. The Native Americans were the first people here, and they took care of the land and they used it wisely. They were smart about how they used it. They did not pollute the land or the streams. They did not waste food, water, or trees. Native Americans did not think that the land belonged to the people. They said that the people belonged to the earth. And did you know that the name Tuckahoe is a Native American word? It's for a tuberous plant that grows close to the river. And we have a lot of water here, so we must have had a lot of that plant growing for them to call it Tuckahoe. So now you know where you come from is a Native American name for a plant. So in the 1600s, people from Europe arrived and things began to change. Fields gave way to farms, towns, and cities. Businesses opened and factories were built. But people didn't realize what was going to happen, and before long, by the 1960s, our land, air, and water were badly polluted. On April 22nd, 1970, 20 million Americans took part in the first Earth Day, and I was one of them. They were from towns and cities all over the United States. More than 2,000 colleges throughout the United States held Earth Day events. And it was all because of people getting today and getting together to make changes to help to right a wrong. And people are still doing that today. And we're going to hear about somebody else who helped to alarm people what was going on. And her name was Rachel Carson. And this book is called Spring After Spring, How Rachel Carson Inspired the Environmental Movement by Stephanie Roth Sisson. It was dawn when the chorus began. Rachel didn't want to miss a note. She heard the chorus of the birds out in the trees. Bee, bee, caw, caw, cheer, cheer, coo, coo, woo. And she says, hello. Chirp, chirp, bzz. Wait, 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 beep, 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 bzz, chip, chitty. As the midday sun warmed the earth, other musicians chimed in. Life and music were all around, and wonders big and small. So she is going and she's looking at the ground and at the trees and relishing everything. Spring was Rachel's favorite time of year. As the sun set, she could hear the first bubbles of frog song. Crickets began their nighttime tune, and bats squeaked a lullaby. At home, there was a warm supper and a big family. Mom played the piano and Dad sang and read songs. Rachel's favorite were the ones about the sea. As the days grew longer and warmer, the chattering, chirping, and hooting got louder. Cheep, cheep, click, chip, chip, hoot, 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 until the gathering calls from migrating birds meant that it was autumn. They were coming together for their long journey through the ocean of air to their wintering homes. Honk, honk, honk. See the geese? We have some of those geese here. Snuggled under a warm blanket, Rachel drew pictures and wrote about the life she experienced all year. But not everyone left. You see, some of them are hibernating under the ground. She read books about animals and imagined what their lives were like. Spring after spring, year after year, the birds arrived. Every season, Rachel watched, listened, and wrote. And like the nestlings, she grew quickly. And then one autumn, it was time for her to go to college. She was sure she wanted to be a writer until she looked through a microscope and saw a small world in a drop of water, tiny sea plants and animals. Rachel was amazed and in love. She wanted to know more about the very small world made visible by a microscope. She had never been to the ocean, and she was scared to go in the water. To learn about the creatures in tideful pools, marshes, and the sea, Rachel decided she would study biology. She put her writing aside. After she finished school, Rachel worked as a scientist and compiled information about the ocean. Now for her job, she wanted to know what it was like to actually be underwater. She was still scared, but she went anyway. In the fish world, many things are told by sound waves. Rachel began to write books about the sea. They were so full of scientific detail and vivid descriptions of the lives of sea creatures that people could imagine those worlds. Rachel became a famous author. But there was something wrong. All around, nature's voices were going quiet. So Rachel did what she did best. She watched closely, listened carefully, and learned as much as she could about what was happening. Rachel put together scattered facts and found the answer. People wanted to kill bugs that ate their plants, bothered them, and sometimes even made them sick. Chemists created new poisons to solve the insect problems that seemed to work and seemed to be harmless to other creatures and humans. These poisonous chemicals were quickly used everywhere in huge amounts because people thought they were safe. But Rachel found evidence that the poisons were not safe. And she shows the cycle: poison eaten by a microscopic water life, then they're eaten by the fish, then the tiny fish is eaten by the bigger fish, then the bigger fish eaten by an eagle, then the eagle egg shells are so thin they break. And then the poison coats worms, the worms eaten by the bird, and the bird dies from eating the poisonous worm. Or the poison coats worms and insects are eaten by the bird is eaten by a fox or another animal, and then the fox dies. So that's what her research helped her with. Rachel wrote a book to tell people what she had learned. Silent Spring created a huge ruckus. Some people were inspired to change, but many did not believe Rachel. Eventually, President Kennedy took notice and began an investigation to find out what was true. Rachel was asked to come to Washington, D.C. and defend her book. She was scared, but she went and told them about what she had found. Rachel's testimony in Washington and her writing in Silent Spring made people see that they have an effect on the environment and the other creatures that they share the world with. People were inspired to speak up. Congress passed new laws so that nature was treated with more care, and some of the most harmful chemicals were banned. Spring after spring, year after year, people celebrated the earth and the environment because Rachel showed them how beautiful and precious it is. But Rachel went home and continued watching and listening. In the morning, she went out among the tide pools and gathered specimens. In the afternoon, she carefully studied them and took notes on her observations. And in the evening, when the tide had gone out again, She returned each creature with great care, exactly in the spot she had found it, exactly where it belonged. The end. So I have another story that I wanted to share with you. Now that you know about the cycles of how we're all work together to make the earth a better place, even bees are very important for us. And this is a book called Give Bees a Chance, Words and Pictures by Bethany Barton. This is my best buddy, Edgar. We love all the same things, like board games and dinosaurs, strawberries and honey, and of course bees, except that I don't really like bees. Sure you do. Didn't I tell you there are about 25,000 different kinds of bees to love? There's a European honeybee, the hornface bee, the metallic green bee, the common bumblebee, just to name a few. And then I told you all about the 3 types of honeybees: the queens, the drones, and the workers. Get them away from me! Blow gently on bees to make them scatter. Whew, thanks. Like I was saying, I don't like bees. But why? Mostly because of their stingers and attached venom sacs, which are the cause of painful bee stings. That part you told me last week. And here he is last week, he got a bite. But that was just one bee. Couldn't you still give bees a chance? Maybe I just need to remind you how weird and cool a honeybee's anatomy is. They have 5 eyes, and they have 2 stomachs, and they have 4 wings, and they have 6 legs, and they have a stinger. Ouch. Maybe you just need some time to get to know them. How about millions of years? You know, bees lived with dinosaurs. Scientists have found bee fossils from millions of years ago. And even ancient Egyptians kept bees. Here's a hieroglyphic symbol for bee. In fact, honey from bees was found in Egyptian tombs. And it was still edible. What? Ooh, honey. Perfect. Maybe you just need some honey. Bees make honey. Why are you telling me all this stuff? So you'll give bees a chance. Once you learn how great they are, you're bound to fall in love with them. Check out how honey is made. A bee gathers nectar from the flowers. It goes into his special honey stomach, and then the contents of the crop are spit into a new bee's mouth. The new bee breaks down the sugars of the nectar, and the processed nectar is passed to several more bees who each break down the nectar in their crops until it becomes honey. Then the honey, listen to this one, gets barfed into a honeycomb cell and fanned by the wings of bees to evaporate moisture. Lastly, it's sealed with beeswax to keep it safe until it's eaten. Did you say barf? Just 1 pound of honey takes 2 million flowers and thousands of bees to create. Too many bees. Blow gently on bees to make them scatter. Remember what we do? It looks like I haven't convinced you just yet. Nope, because they're gonna sting me. Oh well, bees do sting sometimes, but not because they're mean. Bees only sting to defend themselves, like if they're going to get eaten or squished. In fact, many bees lose their stinger after attacking, which is sort of like if your hand disappeared if you pinch your sister. Also, wait, what are you wearing? Bee armor. That's not going to work. It was designed for dragons. I think it can handle bees. Well, there is a kind of armor that beekeepers wear. This is what they wear, a bee suit. It looks quite a bit different. It allows them to collect honey and beeswax without getting stung by startled bees. But giving up bees means giving up so much more than just honey. You know, I love honey, but I'd be willing to give it up forever to never see a bee again. Bees have a big impact on the food chain. You see, in order for plants to grow, and fruits and vegetables, they need the right ingredients. And a major ingredient they need is pollen. But since flowers can't move, they can't always get pollen from each other. So how do they get the pollen? That's where bees fly in. A bee's fuzzy body catches pollen from flowers. Pollen falls into the next flower the bee visits. They act as a pollen delivery service, helping give flowers the ingredients they need. A single bee can visit over 1,000 flowers a day, making bee pollination powers unparalleled, which means without bees, there'd be a lot less yummy stuff to eat. And bees are disappearing in large numbers. Bees actually need our help because pesticides and parasites and less bee-friendly flowers and pollution are affecting them. Okay, I take it back. I don't want bees gone. I even sort of want to help them as long as they don't sting me. Planting bee-friendly flowers is a great way to help the bee population. Won't that just attract more bees? Hopefully, yes, but just approach a bee like you would a dog you don't know. Don't get too close and don't try to touch it. Unless you're a flower, it should lose interest and fly away. And if more people like you give bees a chance, they might just have, well, a chance to make the world a sweeter place. Now, have I told you how much I love bears? The end. Yay! Okay. I have another story that I want to share with you. It's a new book that we just received. It's called Seeds. It's by Carme Lemniscates. And you can also take this out from the library. Seeds carry the power of life, so they embark on amazing adventures. Some take off to distant lands. Others wait to be carried to their destiny. Once they find their place, seeds go through breathtaking transformations. Seeds have the power to multiply in number. One pumpkin seed brings dozens of pumpkins. And I'm sure you see that at Halloween when you're scooping that out. Each pumpkin brings hundreds of seeds. Wow! Seeds have the power to multiply in size. The tiniest seed sprouts a beautiful orchid. Seeds have the power to grow in difficult places. They can thrive despite all odds. When we sow a seed, we take part in an amazing cycle. And we can plant many different kinds of seeds. A smile is a powerful seed, one that can bring joy and friendship. But there are also seeds that bring anger and misunderstanding. When those seeds grow, they pull us apart. Seeds can only bring what they carry. Pumpkin seeds bring pumpkins. Kindness seeds bring kindness. You have lots of seeds, and you get to decide which ones to plant and which ones to help grow. Seeds have whole worlds inside them, just like you. The end. This is a song that I wrote about the river and growing up on the river and taking care of the river. I hope you like it. It's called Dear River. Every day of my life I can run back to you. You rush back at me with treasures anew. Beauty skims your surface with wild geese and swans.
hold the elusive water, but she rushes by and I must be content to sit by and marvel at water's descent. And thank you for helping carry me through my life, a constant reminder under my window you say. I fished along your banks in the summer rain. In winter you offered us glee on frozen waters. We would race from one end of the lake to the other. And while we all owe you a debt of respect, we cannot deny there has been some neglect. We hope to amend this, and as time ensues, sincerely hope to make it up to you, not only to clear up and change what has been, but prevent it from happening ever again. And thank you, dear river, for holding us tight, for singing to me in the deep of the night, or entrancing my children as you did me. May we all guard you from further harm, so you can rush out with the treasures in the years to come.
And I want to end with one of my favorite songs. And just remember that this land is for you and for me. This land is your land.